My name is Timothy Jones. I was born and raised in Watchung, New Jersey, and grew up there, had a blast there, and my address was 295 Sterling Road. Father's name was Billy Jones. My mom's name is Carolyn Jones. Her maiden name was Fish, and my maternal grandparents were George and Edna Fish, and Edna Fish was Edna Spear, and that ties me into all the other various families in Watchung that I'm related to in one way, shape, or another. Let's see, I was born in 1961 and I left in 87. Professionally, I'm a musician. I've been a guitar player since I was 6 years old. I am really, really, really good at what I do. I'm proud of that. I have a resume that is just impeccable because of a lot of publishing reasons. I can't really, on camera, say who they were, but they were some pretty heavy-hitting Motown and classic rock people. I did studio work, I did TV commercials, I taught music, I ran a store up in Warren Township where Millie's, the Magic Fountain, best hamburger and onion rings in the world, used to be. There was a store called Pianos Plus, owned and operated by Peter Prasa, and I ran the store for him. And then upon moving out of New Jersey, when I moved to Atlanta, that's when I did all the touring, and after I got off the road, I opened up my own music store, and one became two, two became three, and that's about it, you know. You know, growing up as a kid in Watchung, it was like, Watchung was like the pearl of the oyster. It had everything. You know, you could walk to a mall, to a movie theater, cut through the woods, of course. You could go to a magic fountain. You could cruise around a golf course, trails all over the place, dirt biking, ice skating. There's just tons and tons and tons of stuff to do. You had baseball fields up at Phillips Field. You had the Watchung Recreation, which was in the little pavilion in Mobus Field on Brookdale. Now I remember as a kid, Phillips Field used to have a bunch of horse stables up there. And if I remember correctly, and this is probably when I was way, way young, they had a bad fire, and the stables ended up moving out. And it was just empty land that eventually they thought, well, we can put two baseball fields here. Growing up in Watchung was a blast. It was fun. It was right out of the Leave It to Beaver kind of stuff, you know. You knew all your neighbors. You knew what they did for a living. You knew the kids' names. Even if you weren't friends with them, you knew everybody. You knew their pets' names. And that was fun, because we used to have neighborhood picnics and things like that. But there were some kind of not so good parts about knowing, you know, 10 people in every direction from where you lived, because that meant you had 20 different moms and dads. So you couldn't get away with nothing. Well, basically Watchung consisted of the Tituses, the Spears, the Barretts, the Eatons. You know, those were the families that had been around for decades and decades. Oh, let's see, there's the Greaves, there's the McCraes, there's the Aldridges, there's the Tituses, and us. I was into dirt bikes, and I was able to go from my backyard, jump the creek, and make it up to Millie's, which people that remember it was called Magic Fountain, where now the restaurant Rolf's is. And I could also make my way through the woods back behind Twin Brooks Country Club and all the way to Warrenville Hardware. And some of my friends and I on the dirt bikes, we were the good guys. The people from Twin Brooks would let us drive all over the golf course on off hours, because we chased the kids on the dirt bikes that were tearing up the sand dunes and tearing up the greens. So we had a free reign of the place. As a youngster, we ate dinner there when they were still serving food. It's a little hazy. I remember it burning down, which was a sad time, because I mean, you can't get any more historic in the United States of America than George Washington. And the Washington House, the Washington Rock State Park, and all the places around New Jersey where Washington had been. There was a house in Watchung. It's actually, it used to be a big brown house on the corner of Brookdale Road and Sterling Road, right on that big bend. I think the house is white now. The Hompeshes lived there, and I was friends with Bobby Thomson. We were messing around in his dad's basement area, and we saw this shelf that looked like it was on a hinge. And we felt behind there, and there's some latches, and the shelf actually folded out, and there was this rickety old door, and we grabbed flashlights and opened it, and there are tunnels all underground underneath that house in Watchung. You know, back in the day, Lockheed Electronics was on Route 22 in Watchung, and it was the big secret of, oh, what do? They make electronics? Nah, I don't think so. They actually make missiles for the government and for the military. And they now reside down near Dobbins Air Force Base, north of Atlanta. I think it's Marietta, and it's now called Lockheed Martin. They merged. The Pratt furniture store, I think, had a section in it that you could get these long, like, candy things of different flavors, and they had dozens and dozens of flavors. It was like a candy cane without the hook. And you go down there for, like, 10 cents or a nickel, and, go down there with 50 cents, you came home with a pile of candy. My friend Mickey Lawler and myself, who is friends of Timmy Logan's friend Jamie Lawler, we wanted to go ice skating down at Best Lakes, so we did. Bundled up, we're ice skating, had the green flag, and my buddy's kind of going toward the back left corner where the little stream comes in. I'm like, hey, dude, don't go there. The ice is probably thin. Oh, no, it'll be all right. Blam, fell through the ice. So, what am I gonna do? I jumped in the water, yanked his butt out and pulled him out, and then we took off our skates, put on our shoes, and walked home soaking wet, down Valley Road, up Sterling Road, up to his house. And then my mother's like, why are your clothes soaking wet, blah, 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 And I thought, uh-oh, here we go again. I said, Mickey fell in the lake. Well, where is he? I said, well, he's home. Well, how'd he get out? I said, I jumped in and pulled him out. Like any friend would do. Well, people got wind of that, and the aforementioned Optimist Club gave me an award and a plaque. And I got my picture in, I don't know whether it was the Courier News or Echo Sentinel, one of those older papers. And I was presented this award from the then president of the Watchung Optimist Club, Marsh Nagel. As a kid, going to Bayberry School, out Valley Road every single day, you pass Moldenke Castle. I mean, where in New Jersey are you going to find a European castle that was shipped over here piece by piece? What else? Before the big flood back in the 70s, Wetumpka Falls. As a young kid growing up, I had a pellet gun, and Mr. Hodges, the shop teacher in Valley View, helped me make a gun rack for it. And I had it hanging on the wall behind my bed. And of course, 295 Sterling Road is about a house and a half down the street from Valley View Road that goes up in front of Valley View School. On that corner was a streetlight that would shine into my bedroom and drive me nuts. So I had the brilliant idea of one night, real quiet, I opened up my window, opened up the screen, let's see, boom, bling. Timmy, what are you doing? Uh-oh, I'm in deep trouble. I said, the light was bothering my eyes, so I kind of shot it out, fully expecting to get, tarred and feathered. My mom starts cracking up laughing, and I'm thinking to myself, what on earth is going on? And she goes, did you know that your uncle, when we were little kids living here, did the same thing? Every 3-4 months, boom, out went the streetlight. My mother is Carolyn D. Jones, and it was Carolyn Fish was her maiden name. She was born and raised in 295 Sterling Road, along with my Uncle Bill, William Fish. The reason I'm interested in Watchung history is because of my mom. When I was in the 8th grade, I did a report with the help of my mom about the history of Watchung, and I've been frantically searching for that report that my mom donated some probably 45 years ago or better to the Watchung Library, and it just vanished until I met this lovely lady named Susan Tucker and said, "You'll never guess in a million years what I have." And I am now today the proud owner of my original report from the 8th grade, 1970, whatever, probably 74, 75, somewhere around there. To tie the history and my mom all back together again, my mom was a brilliant artist in watercolors. I have upstairs paintings of Moldenke's Castle, the honeymoon suite or something like that, the Schmidt house, which was Mayor Ken Schmidt's house, the old schoolhouse, the ice house. I have a picture, Wilson Memorial Church. My uncle was also a painter, and I have a painter of the original exempt fireman's hall with the big ring in front. And people are like, well, what's that thing for? Well, you know, somebody, when there's a fire, would go out there and bang that thing and it would ring, and all the firemen would come down and they'd go do their thing. My mom, being involved in history, if you go to a library, any library, and pull a bookshelf off and read the title, she'd go, "Oh yeah, I read that." She read everything. And she just really, really liked digging up history and things of that nature. A lot of it, I think, rubbed off from her older brother, Bill, who used to work at the Museum of Natural History in New York City. She was a school aide at Valley View School. That wasn't fun. She and my dad were both on the Watchung Volunteer Rescue Squad, and she was part of the original Watchung Historical Society. When I was younger, my dad was a part of the Optimist Club, and they did a lot of events, and I would help out at the events. I came up with an idea from a TV show, a sports show called Superstars, where they would have different athletes from every walk of life sport compete in all kinds of different sports that they were unfamiliar with. And I took that and spun it and said, you know, the Optimist Club should create their own superstars, but make it 50% athletic and 50%, you know, scholastic. And I'm the one that came up with that concept some 40 years ago. The biggest event was the softball games, the men's over 40 softball games, where they were allowed one 30 to 40-year-old person on the team and one person between 20 and 30 and one person under 20. And I got the privilege to play with a lot of old-time people from Watchung, you know, the Rotary Club, the police department, the fire department, the Optimist Club. They even had a team called the Boilermakers. Wonder what they did after the game. Jerry Mobus, I think, was a part of that team. But when playing softball, who knew? There's just this old guy that could hit the daylights out of the ball, and then he kind of plod around the field, you know, and I knew him as Mr. Thompson, but who knew it was Bobby Thomson, the shot heard around the world. People came from all around to go to, I think it was McDonough's family that owned the beach area. To get a job as a lifeguard there usually cost you. And I had a friend that was a lifeguard there, and he was getting ready to go off to college. And he says, "You want my job?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love it, man. You know, sit in the sun and make money and, you know, watch people swim. Yeah, that would be 2 cases of Bud." Okay, you know, so for 48 cans of beer, I got a lifeguard job. In the morning before it opened up, we'd go out on the rowboats and canoes and such and scoop up these things that, if you've ever seen the movie Cocoon, they look like these big round cocoons that were probably, some of them were 3 and 4 feet in diameter, some of them were like 8 feet in diameter. We'd pick them up, toss them over the dam, and they'd break up and wash down the river. To this day, I have no idea what they were. I washed pots and pans at O'Connor's Beef and Ale. It was cool because I didn't have to interact with anybody. It was just me, the 3 sinks, the pots and the pans, and the owner would come over and go, "Hey, you're doing a good job," and stick a cold beer up on there. You know, I mean, what job do you have that you can just sit there and drink cold beer and listen to live entertainment at the same time? Not knowing that in 5 or 10 years, I was going to be the live entertainment. There's trails that are on the west side of the river where Wetumpka Falls used to be. Climbing up there was fun. Behind the rescue squad and behind the old schoolhouse, which became the library, which I don't even know what it is now, you can actually walk from there through the woods and get to Johnson's Drive. So as a kid, you know, if I wanted to go to Blue Star Shopping Center, I'm not going all the way out Johnson's Drive or Valley Road and up Bonnie Burn. We cut through the woods. There were trails everywhere. I know that part of the old Indian Trail that a lot of people don't realize was in my backyard because there was a Native American Lenni Lenape encampment right there in my backyard. And as a kid, my uncle was really into history. That's, I think, where it kind of trickled down to my mom and to myself. He used to like to dig in the dirt. And some of the things he found in our backyard are just mind-boggling. On 295 Sterling Road, we were the last house coming down the hill going toward the curve by Brookdale that our property actually ran all the way to the river. And the 2 people that lived up the street from us, that whole backyard area was like a little plain area next to the river. And my uncle dug up all kinds of Native American artifacts, such as arrowheads, tomahawks, pelt grinders, corn grinders, all kinds of stuff. And like I said previously, he so much liked history that he ended up working for the Museum of Natural History in New York. My connection to the Mural is basically through my uncle that dug up artifacts of the Lenni Lenape Indians that had the encampment in my backyard. So, you know, having that as a kid growing up, and then looking at the Mural going, those are the dudes that use this stuff. It was kind of neat because, you know, here you are in Watchung, New Jersey. You're 28 miles from Lower Manhattan and Wall Street, and they got murals of Native American people. That's pretty impressive to have that kind of history, especially in a corporate store like Sears and Roebuck. Stuff like that wouldn't happen today, unfortunately. But I'm very, very happy that people that are involved with the Watchung Historical Committee now have that mural in their possession and have permission to put it pretty much wherever they want. Now, another piece of history from Watchung, you can't cross there anymore because I had friends that used to live on Mountain Boulevard, a little bit up from the circle, and why walk all the way around Brookdale and why walk all the way around the circle when you could cut right across the dam of Watchung Lake that had the little slots in it where the water would trickle down. They were probably about 4.5 feet wide by about 18 inches, and then they almost look like speed bumps with kind of like little routes in the middle of them for the water to drizzle down. That's where they used to gather the ice. You say ice, what ice? Well, many, many, many moons ago on Watchung Lake was the ice house that produced ice for the entire area. And that's where they used to drain the excess water for the ice house. After the burning of Moldenke Castle, several people would flock to the castle to kind of get their own little piece of history, whether it be, you know, a piece of the building, a tile, mosaic tile. A lot of the younger kids were looking for the cannonballs, you know, as a cool keepsake. But it was sad to see it go. I believe that George Washington spent a lot of time in Watchung, but I don't think that's a fact that can be proven, so I guess that would be considered folklore, but I don't consider it folklore. I believe he was there. You know, why would you have a house that has underground tunnels in it? You got to be hiding something. And they weren't hiding distilleries or anything back there. I mean, I'm sure that was troops. When you go down Somerset Street and leave Watchung, you enter into a town called North Plainfield. You cross over 22, you go down Somerset Street for a while, and then it turns into Plainfield. You cross Front Street, you go down Park Avenue for a while, then you're into South Plainfield. Do you know how those towns got the names? It was because George Washington stood at the peak of Washington Rock Park off of Washington Rock Road, looking over the Delaware across the plain fields to see the British. My backyard. That's where it all happened, it all started. You know, you know, a lot of places don't exist anymore. You know, the Washington House, the Castle, Wetumpka Falls. After the big flood, a lot of buildings that were just coming out of the circle on Somerset Street were destroyed. As in any small town, people want to come in and develop it. And as people that have been around Watchung or the Watchung area, just look at Watchung Hills. It was one building, then it was two, and now it's humongous. And even Valley View School. We used to play, you know, football on the front yard after school every day. There is no front yard anymore. It's all building. Everything got built up. In a wishful world, all the things that disappeared, the castle, the falls, the Washington House, but more important than anything, the memory of the history of Watchung, especially to the new people in Watchung that don't have a clue. That, you know, you have all kinds of people that ended up working in the Museum of Natural History, a Super Bowl winning offensive lineman for the New York Giants, one of the most famous baseball players on the planet that played for the New York Giants baseball team, the shot heard around the world. These people don't realize that. I wish there was more kind of ways to get it into the people's ear that the Watchung Historical Society actually exists in the center of the Circle of Watchung, in the old Sears building, which was the old police station. And it'd be really, really nice to kind of have people know what was here long before they ever got here. It's a town that's just loaded with history, and I hope people take the time to look into it. You can't have a memory of history if you don't know what the memory was, because if people don't know, it ain't history.